really love to ask, is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own? Believe me, one love. I hate to disturb your reggae fantasy.
420 Hemp Fest Cannabis Festival. We are this year it's been put on by La Lima Pahoa, which is a non-profit organization here in Pahoa that I'm a volunteer for, and we put on music and art in order to bring community together for it.
Aloha everybody, aloha mai kākou, o i kaika ke li'i o malu ko o inoa, noho wau ma'ani'i me ko o hana, ka o hana ke li'i o malu. He mo'opuna o Robert ke li'i o malu wau. Ua hana wau I ka cannabis industry no ka umi kumakahi makahiki hala. I ke ia manawa hana wau no ke kahi business ma'ani'i. And all that in English is, my name is Ikaika Keli'o Omalu. I live down here with my family, the Keli'o Omalu family. I'm one of Robert Keli'o Omalu's grandsons. I've worked in the cannabis industry now for about 11 years. It's taken me from here, where I started out, up to Oregon, to California, to Canada, and now I'm back here again. During that time, I've worked mainly in cultivation, a little bit of extraction, and a bit on the political side as well. I served for 2 years on the San Francisco Cannabis Legalization Task Force, which was a body responsible for basically assisting the city government in crafting legislation for that city and county. Basically, I'd just like to welcome everybody here. You know, thank you to La Lima and Sarah and everybody else, the whole gang, for setting this up. I'm really hoping that this is going to be an informational and illuminating event for everybody, because there's a whole lot of improvement that needs to happen here in Hawaii, and just a whole bunch of information that we can all benefit from. Today I have a very, very short and informal presentation, basically covering where we are now as far as the legalities go, how we got here, and a little bit on where we can improve and where we're probably going to go. So without further ado, we can go to the first one. So as most of you know, it's legal to cultivate up to 10 plants now if you have your medical card. Originally that was 7, and that was through the Act 228 back in 2000, which was passed by the government under Ben Cayetano. That is obviously still in effect today, and I think it's great that we're all able to do that, and we should all keep doing that and benefiting and exercising those rights. I think the biggest part, just moving right along, 2015, 15 years after we passed our first medical cannabis law, we finally got dispensaries. It took 15 years. And when we did, there were only 8 licenses. And each one of those licenses cost $75,000 in order to or the application fee itself was $75,000 plus a $5,000 non-refundable application fee, merit-based. So that basically, effectively, basically left everybody, most people, out of that program or having access to that program. And that's kind of like where we are right now. Nothing much has changed since then. And that's very disappointing, because this is an immense opportunity for our community, especially here on the Big Island, especially Puna, to take advantage of this economic opportunity and create some new wealth in our communities. So this past year, 2019 or 2018, I should say, we tried to pass SB 686, which failed. Basically, what that was a legalization bill. However, if any of you had a chance to read it, it really didn't change anything from HB 321. There's still only 8 licenses and the criteria remained the same. So it didn't improve the opportunity for most of us. And basically only allowed existing dispensaries to sell recreational cannabis. Again, disappointing. The last part here is actually a point for moving forward. At this point, we have adult recreational legislation in both Guam, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, California, and Nevada. And Hawaii still doesn't. So we're an outlier at this point, and I think that's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on our state government to pass something in this coming year. And we'll go to the next slide. These are some suggestions as far as how the state could improve, because it's great to bring up all these issues and whatnot, but it means nothing if you don't offer any suggestions or solutions. Currently, the licenses are anybody who is under the medical dispensary program is allowed to have 2 to 3 retail locations, so 3 dispensaries maximum, 2 production facilities, 3,000 plants each, with a potential to extend that to 2,000. And that's huge. I mean, that's insanely huge. So one thing I suggest is creating smaller cannabis business license types for cultivation, extraction, retail, and micro businesses. An equity license program for native Hawaiians and non-violent cannabis offenses, whether they're convicted or charged. None of the bills really suggest sending any of the tax money back to public education, public health. It just goes straight to the general fund. There's a small percentage that goes to public drug education, but that's about it. And our schools and our public health system need that money. Yeah, the general fund basically means it gets dumped into the coffers and the government can do whatever they want with it. So we all kind of know how that's going to go. Other thing that would be a huge benefit is lowering the license and compliance fees. Like I said, it costs at least $100,000 just in application fees right now to get a dispensary license. That needs to be significantly lowered. So we have people in small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, taking part in this industry and really pushing Hawaii forward, because I think that we're going to see the most innovation and creativity and economic growth that way, rather than just having oligopolies, which is what we have now. This is also a huge one. This was an issue in California, actually. There was no legal pathway for currently existing medical growers or just medical industry people to transition into the legal marketplace. So that is probably something that the government should consider moving forward, having a legal pathway to move people who are currently cultivating medical cannabis under the medical cannabis guidelines given by the state into the recreational industry. So that's just streamlined and we don't have any problems with small growers getting run over and small medium guys just getting totally left out of the industry, which is more or less what happened in California. We should also be encouraging craft cannabis, and by craft I mean, again, small scale, quality driven cannabis companies to really dominate the industry here in Hawaii and not have basically just huge cultivation sites growing mass-produced marijuana for everybody. Cannabis marijuana. Another thing that we can do to tweak that a bit is create a micro business license, which is something that California did as well. Basically what that does is it allows one license type to extract, retail, and cultivate all under the same legal framework permit. And that is an immense benefit for most small businesses to be able to do all of that instead of breaking it up into several different, I guess, supply chain points where you have a distributor, somebody who does extracts, and somebody who does cultivation, someone who does retail, which is all fine. I think that's great too. But if we could have a small license type that's allowed to do all of these things, I think that would be the biggest advantage for small companies. And then the last thing is the state should really be creating anti-monopoly legislation moving forward for the recreational industry. And honestly, after reading through SB 686, it really doesn't seem like they're doing that at all. They're pretty much sticking with what they did with the medical licenses, which was limiting it to 8. There was a small stipulation that said, yeah, we're gonna potentially evaluate the opportunity for other licenses to come online, but it really does not go far enough at all. So if we could go to the next slide. Here's some action items. They're pretty overarching, and like I said, I want to keep it informal in general. The biggest problem that I've seen, anyway, in California was we didn't have enough small cultivators, small extract companies getting educated and really reading the laws and knowing what was going on. And so by the time the state was ready to pass legislation, it was too late. I mean, there were quite a few organizations that did manage to get a few pieces of, I guess, a little bit of what they wanted through here and there, but too little, too late, more or less. So I strongly suggest to everybody interested in getting into this industry on some level or form to get educated on what is going on at the state level and the national and international level as well, because this industry is growing at an immense rate, and it's crazy. It's awesome, but it's crazy. The second part, organize. A suggestion here that we made 2 years ago, back in 2017, is to create a Puna Growers Alliance or a Hawaii Growers Alliance to advocate, this is just a name, so it could be any name, to advocate on behalf of small businesses in this industry, patients, basically create a community voice. Without organizations like this, I highly, I really don't think anything is going to change. And that's actually kind of what it seems like the state wants. They don't really talk much about the changes that are going on or disseminate that information to the public. You basically have to go online and look it up yourself. And that's something that I suggest everyone do. Actually, whether you're an advocate, interested person, patient, X, Y, and Z, everyone can benefit from that information. And come to events like this. Again, thank you to the people who put this on. This is a great opportunity for everybody to learn. Last thing is exercise your rights, and I have Act 228 in there, which was the 2000 Medical Cannabis Act, legalizing basically the 7-plant count. Right now, push that to the max. Because first of all, the state is really not going to be doing much as far as enforcement for a long time, and it's technically legal, so go for it. It's your right under the state law, and yeah. We have a question here about CBD and hemp, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So there are several bills moving through, or that were moving through the state government to basically legalize commercial hemp production. I'm not sure if anything passed. To be honest, that's not really my area of expertise. Focus mainly on the cannabis end, but that's going to be another huge thing for sure. So another thing to keep your guys' eye out on. And yeah, conclusions pretty much. Like I said, I really don't think, highly doubt that anything will improve without our participation. And just getting organized and learning about what's going on with the law. It's very obvious to me that the state government needs guidance on crafting these laws properly and in a way that reflects the actual communities that need it the most. And the last thing here is Hawaii. I mean, me personally, I'm 85% certain at this point that Hawaii is going to be passing some sort of adult use recreational legislation in 2020. So now's the time to really pay attention and get involved and get your guys' voices heard. Because I can say that once the state passes this, it's going to be like cat out of the bag, kind of like how it is now with the medical dispensaries. So, yeah, mahalo nui to everybody who came out, and again, I hope you guys all benefit immensely from this event. Yeah.
Aloha, thank you very much, Akaika. Thank you very much to Uncle Robert and Akaika's family for hosting this event. This is the 3rd annual event for us. What we have is, the event, if you saw any of the poster work, is in memory of a dear friend of many of ours, known as Uncle Billy. And Billy was here and at our very first event, had a great message for everybody, and I think that that's exactly what we're going to show you is Uncle Billy's message, and then Sharon, another volunteer for Lalima Pahoa that's putting this event on, is going to cue this up for you. Thank you all for coming. I kept hearing in Akaika's speech was that it's critically important for us to get involved. It's critically important for us to make our representatives represent us and actually put into place laws that we want, not things that are going to replace now a missing stream of revenue that they had so conveniently available to them. So I think more than ever it is, then, as Akaika I think said in almost every sentence, incredibly important that we are diligent and hold our elected people to their feet to the fire and have this actually happen the way that we can see it. I have long said that I thought that a better approach would have been to have just said, get out of our gardens. You don't belong in our gardens. But we'll see what's going on with this. Oh, you can hear it very little. Hold on.
Security speech, and oh, here we go.
The recreational use of this thing.
Whenever you're ready. No, we're ready.
Our next speaker has been also a crusader at this for many, many, many years. He was a founder of the American Alliance for Medical Cannabis. He brings just years and again, years and decades of knowledge and experience watching the political systems and the winds of change. It becomes a move forward, 3 steps backward. Please, everybody, welcome Billy LeVan, well known as Uncle Billy.
To address the recreational use of this thing. They don't want us to use this plant on a recreational basis. The word recreation recreational breaks down to recreate. They don't want us to recreate. They don't want us to recreate ourselves, the environment around us. They want us to drink alcohol and smoke tobacco, do all those wonderful things, but not to use the plant for that. I myself have found it on a medicinal level, and as Dennis Brown, a fellow who was involved with writing Proposition 215 in the state of California, he said it's all medicinal. There's no such thing as recreation. It's all medicinal because of how our bodies respond to this plant. We have lots of folks here who can answer lots of questions on many levels that this plant covers. And we're hoping that we all learn something new here today. I'm looking forward to it myself. I don't have much other to say about the recreational use than that. But I would like to say this. If anybody here is a medicinal cannabis user and needs to medicate, we ask you that you go across the street to the alcoholic and medicate there. There's no one that's going to check any identifications or anything. Uncle Robert had asked us years ago to not medicate here because of our children, because of the cake. And we will respect that. We are asking that. So now here's to the best of all of you, and aloha.
It's really nice to be here. Mahalo to the organizers, Sarah, and the others, that Uncle Roberts, for providing this facility. This is really wonderful that we're doing this every year, and we won't do it. We'll continue to do it even after it is legalized. I'd like to offer some remarks or comments about the memory of Uncle Billy. I first met Billy at a cannabis event in Oakland, California in the early 90s. That was 30 years ago. It was the very beginning of the medical cannabis movement. We call it the medical marijuana movement at that time. And only a handful of activists were there, and Billy was one of them. I remember Billy in those early days to be a polite, unassuming man that was present at nearly all of our events, our rallies, our strategy meetings. He was always there. He was a very thoughtful person and a good listener. At the end of our meetings, Billy and I would always find some little corner of the room that we were in or wherever we were, like this, to smoke a fatty. And we always had a lot of good talk between us and joked around over a joint. He was a happy guy. He was a happy, hippie guy. And I was a happy, hippie gal. Then the next time I saw Uncle Billy was right here at Uncle Robert's. And I said, "What are you doing, Billy?" He says, "I'm moving here." And I said, "Well, how did you find the place?" He says, "Well, I've been coming here for a while." And he says, "I wanted to be with my good friend, Dr. Phil, and who's sitting right over here, who moved down here about 5 years ago. And he did fulfill his dream. Unfortunately, he didn't live long, but he did have a good time. And every time I came down to Uncle Robert's, he was always here, and we always found a place, someplace out there. So, God bless you, Uncle Billy. You were a kind and gentle spirit, and you are missed, but never, never will we forget you. And such an honor to have this event dedicated to the memory of Uncle Billy. He was a longtime activist, a wonderful guy. I'm Andrea Tischler, and I've been an activist for many, many years. Right now, I'm chairing the Americans for Safe Access Big Island. Been doing that since 2008, with some successes and some not so great successes, as Kaya said just a little while ago. It's a little disappointing for what's happening with our state legislature. Unfortunately, we can't do an initiative here statewide because there's no, they don't allow it. We can't do an initiative like we did in California in 1996. So we have to depend on our state legislature. I worked in the early days with activists and Dennis Perone, who's the father of medical marijuana, and he ran a large dispensary they called the Cannabis Buyers Club, and right on Market Street in downtown San Francisco, 11,000 patients, and we should be able to do something like that here. Americans for Safe Access is a national organization that is celebrating their 17th birthday this month. And the organization advocates for medical cannabis patients and has been instrumental in passing medical cannabis laws in many of the states that have medical cannabis right now. In 2015, ASA worked on the dispensary bill, which when it was introduced to the legislature was really a good bill. It became not such a great bill. It allowed, as the previous speakers said, only 8 dispensaries or 8 licenses. Lots of money, over $1 million in order to really get started. I actually went to Honolulu and lobbied against it at the very end of it. But it got passed, and it took 3 years in order to do anything to get our dispensary open here on the Big Island. I'm sure that Senator Russell Ruderman, who's going to be here later on to speak, will give you some updates on the bills and so forth. But I would like to consider, that some of these bills, I would like to tell you a little bit about it, what happened this year, without getting into too much detail. But HB 1581 was the legalization bill, and it died after only one hearing. It had been presented a bill to legalize cannabis for 7 previous legislative sessions, and it didn't receive even one hearing. And it takes a number of hearings, both in the Senate and in the House, in order to get anything like that passed, and it did not happen. We're very, very disappointed because the last poll that was taken in 2014 was to ask people, registered voters, how they felt about cannabis legalization. And 66% at that time wanted to see legalization. Now, it's 2019, there's probably many, many more people that would support legalization. So our legislators are a little bit behind the times here. They're not really listening to the people. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. We should legalize it, and I'm hopeful that 2020 we will be able to legalize it. I really do hope that will happen. But don't hold your breath unless, of course, it's got smoke in it, cannabis, and so I hope that we can make some headway with legalization of cannabis next year. And it's true. What we need to do is we need to get active. Really, I think we just sit back and smoke our weed and think, well, hey, this is Puna. It's legal, isn't it? All down here in Pakalolo. A lot of people tell me that. I would like to believe that, and I hope that. But we are moving in that direction. Yeah, it's almost legal, right? The decriminalization of cannabis is HB 1383. Okay, no, that's not what we need. Listen to this. This is a joke. 3 grams or less gets you a $30 ticket. Okay, my joints are sometimes bigger than 3 grams. Really, it's absurd. And these people who are our legislators really don't know. They really don't know. And we need to tell them about that. Now that bill has gone through both the House and the Senate, and now it's in a conference committee, and it may get passed. I guess it's better than nothing, but basically it's just one step away from nothing. 22 states have decriminalized cannabis on the mainland. So I think we need to move in that direction. But for at least an ounce, it's just terrible. 3 grams. It's an insult. SB 442 would allow counties to decide whether or not to legalize cannabis. I'm for that, but there's some question about the constitutionality of it, and it never got one hearing, but it's something that should come up again next year as one of the bills that is being introduced. Here's one good one. HB 673 is the physician's assistant bill that would allow PAs to certify patients for medical cannabis. I like this one because it will lower the price of going to a doctor and getting certified. It really is better than just having doctors do it. And just a few doctors do it, so yeah. So that one is right now in conference committee, and it may pass. Another good thing about this bill attached to this is that it would prevent an employer from discriminating against a person for hiring, and also it would prohibit the firing of an employee that was tested positive for cannabis. So keep your eye on HB 673. That's one hope that we have this year is hiring and firing is a big thing for cannabis patients. But looking to the future, I think what we need to do is find a path to achieving greater access for cannabis patients that would include high quality and low prices. The dispensaries now that are open offer cannabis aids at unreasonably high prices. I mean, in Oregon, there are ounces that are selling for $25. Good, high-quality cannabis. We have to pay a lot more than that here. So it's more than the average cannabis patient can afford. So we are looking into alternatives to the dispensaries, cooperatives, collectives. Why isn't the legislature looking at those things, or the health department looking at that? HUIs. We need to gather together groups of people to be able to grow cannabis and distribute it to the patients, people who are patients that work in the dispensary. So this is what we are really going to be doing at Americans for Safe Access. We're going to be doing all those other things as well. And we hope that we're going to be seeing some progress here in the coming year. But in the meantime, talk to your senators and representatives. That's the key. Get involved and make them aware that we want legalization of cannabis, and we want to expand the medical cannabis program. But in the meantime, do your thing. Be safe and responsible in how you use your cannabis, and above all, don't get busted. Mahalo for your time. Aloha.
Thank you very, very much. Welcome everybody. We're going to keep going with our speakers. Our next presentation is a young lady that has been with Lalima Pahoa, and with this effort every year, always a constant supporter, full of incredible information. She has a organization called the Hawaii Vets Cannabis Alliance. Is that correct? And that's Maui, I think it is. Is it the Maui, or there's four chapters, which Michelle actually will tell you all about. So, but if you would please welcome Michelle Tippins.
My name is Michelle Tippins. I want to start by just saying thank you to Lalima Pahoa and everybody, all the sponsors, everybody who came out to support this. I think this is a really substantial and important movement. Hey, Kenny, I'm so excited to see you. This movement, and I'm glad that everybody's really kind of same mind and same voice on this. Like, I feel that this movement is going to create a significant shift in our ability to stand up for ourselves again. I think that we've lost our way a little bit, and we kind of get this subservient attitude throughout the country. And I love coming here more than anything because I think a lot of people understand that we really do have to rise up. And it's nice to see people talking about it. So I always love coming here because it's just so inspirational to me. I'm here to talk to you guys about veterans, PTSD, and pot. This is a little bit about me. So I was born in '77, right now I'm 41. I was born in Houston. I went through about 7 or 8 states before I lived in Honolulu in Hawaii. I'm here to talk to you guys about veterans, PTSD, and pot. So this is a little bit of my background. I'm divorced. I have 4 adult children. The youngest is turning 18 in about a month, and the oldest just turned 24 about a week and a half ago. The job that I did in the military was counterintelligence. So basically I worked in anti-terrorism and recruiting spies from other countries to give us their country's information. I'm also an Arab linguist. They taught me how to speak Arabic. And I feel like they really equipped me to do a whole lot of nothing when I got out. You know, I'm really good at maybe like corporate espionage. But other than that, I don't have a lot of skills. I'm good with people. And I actually broke my neck when I was in the military, so that's how I ended up getting put out. I was medically discharged for my neck injury. I couldn't wear things like a Kevlar and body armor to keep me safe, so I was kind of more of a liability than an asset at that point. So coming out of the military that way, I had a very raw sense of this liability versus asset, right? Like I'm a liability. And I went through about a decade of pharmaceuticals that really reinforced that attitude for me. I was sick a lot, and I felt run down, and I didn't want to move, and I was getting heavier, and all the surgeries, and people are having to take care of me. And even though there's money coming in, like they fuck with your pay. Oh my God, they mess with your pay. That way you can edit it. And they'll mess with your pay, and then all of a sudden, not only are you an asset in the ways that you, or a liability in the ways that you before felt very independent, but now somebody's having to pay the bills too. Because sometimes those disabilities, they lose them for you. So that's really where we start to see this. I think I'm getting off track. Okay, so I know stuff. I have a master's and a bachelor's degree, and I've been to a couple colleges, and I speak another language. And I started my speaking in public about weed in 2015 at the 420 High Times Cannabis Cup in Denver. I was on a veterans panel, I think you can find me in the May edition. They have a picture of us, so I really was there. They have a picture. And I started the HBCA shortly thereafter, shortly after that event. We are really not okay with the idea that 22 or more veterans a day commit suicide as a result of PTSD and their veteran service. So we really wanted to make an impact on that number, at the very least here in Hawaii. There's mainland organizations that are similar to us, and we really wanted to bring that here. So if I get on the next slide, please, I think I'm ready to go. Sharon's not with me. Okay, so I'll keep talking about the HBCA because that's the next slide. So we started in 2015. Oh no, it's not. It's my weed story. Yay! So as a kid, I was raised in Texas. I want to make time for questions is why I'm going fast. So if you guys need me to slow down, please say something. But in Houston, we can talk really fast. We have things to do for no reason. So I grew up through my adolescence kind of as a dare kid, and through the 80s where Nancy Reagan was telling us to just say no, and this egg frying is your brain if you try weed and any other drugs. And so it was never really for me. And then in my, right around 13, like right hitting that rebellious adolescence, I tried weed and it made me super sick. And I was like, all right, well, it's not good for me. I threw up, so I'm just gonna leave that on the shelf for whoever wants to pick it up. And I went on to my adulthood. I was in the military, I got hurt in the military. They're plugging me full of a bunch of pills. You know, what's wrong with you this time? Oh, here's a pill for that. Oh, what's wrong with you this time? And what I didn't know, because I trusted my doctor to know what was best for me, a lot of the symptoms I was having were side effects of the pills I was taking. So they create this like triangle effect, this pyramid effect, where you have the pills that you actually need, and then you have all of these levels of pills for the side effects of all the pills that you've given, and it just turns into this mess where you become a zombie and you're just more pill than person. So I got there at the end of about 30, and then I started using weed. And things that hurt through every pill that I'd ever tried didn't hurt for a couple hours. And I could stand up on my own. Like I can do that tree pose in yoga, and I used to have to use a pulmonary walker. So that's huge to me to be able to balance my own weight. So having that kind of progress really speaks a lot to me. I've let go of every pharmaceutical to this point. I lost about 100 pounds. I gained like 10 back, but I'm cool with that. So I lost 100 pounds. I started going through all the medical research and like finding out weed's good for everything. Holy shit. So we started like letting go of all my PTSD behaviors. So if I could have the next slide, please. I think this might be the HBCA, and we'll skip this one because we've talked a lot about this stuff already background. So the HBCA roots, we are a 501c3, so you can donate to us just like LaLima Pahoa is a 501c, and you can donate to them. So let's see what else. Our goal, which is I think the most important thing, is to reduce the frequency of veteran and PTSD-related suicides annually. Our services are open to anyone with PTSD, including people that were in frontline jobs, or someone who's just been a victim. But to be a member, you have to be a veteran. It's like a tax thing. Next one, thank you. I'm so glad you skipped back to me. Okay, so let's talk about PTSD, because that's what I'm really here for. So PTSD is a chronic condition which affects the function of your central nervous system. And your central nervous system is powered by your adrenal glands, which is basically all your hormones. Everything that goes into your body is controlling your heart rate, your respiratory rate, everything, right? So that's kind of where PTSD comes to fruition. So in your parasympathetic nervous system is a rest and digest system. And basically, this is when you're in a state of idleness and your body is in recovery. It's rebuilding, it's breaking down what you've eaten and rebuilding it into cells and healing wounds and all of this stuff. So that's where your parasympathetic nervous system is in control. If you guys are familiar with the term the itis, it's something we say in the South. It's when you eat a huge meal like Thanksgiving, you get really sleepy and drowsy and you want to just relax. That's your parasympathetic nervous system taking control and saying, hey, we're in recovery mode right now. We need you to chill, not be too upset, not have to work too hard, and just rest. Now, on the other side of that, the other side of the coin, is the sympathetic nervous system. Now, this is the fight or flight, and this is where your PTSD comes in. So fight or flight is basically your body's preparing for imminent danger. You've sensed a stressor, and now you have to calculate your propensity to get away versus having to fight for yourself. PTSD teaches people that they cannot get away, and they have to fight for themselves. So when a person goes into the military, they're actually having this honed by basic training. If I can have the next slide, please. So, some symptoms of, So some symptoms of of PTSD and its functions. I've got right here, agoraphobia, procrastination, both are like the flight side of that. When I deal with people who have PTSD from a civilian experience in which they did not have this basic training, there's generally a flight response. People who are afraid to leave their house, or people that just don't leave their house. And this is because they're trying to keep control of the environment that they're in. If they're in their own controlled environment, they don't feel threatened and they can be relaxed. The fight mode, in a couple symptoms, sarcasm. I always say sarcasm wrong when I'm not paying attention, so I'm sorry. Passive-aggressive behavior, micromanaging. I actually was this last one. I was a super strict parent. If I couldn't reach them, they were in danger. So I was super, super strict. And it again comes back to trying to control that environment for the factors that you weren't controlling when you got hurt or aggressed against or went through your trauma. So depending on what that trauma is, it can have an effect on someone's entire life. Even, the simple things you don't even, I can't even tell you. Somebody gets near my door and my dog gets alert and I'm immediately on alert. How fair is that? That's not fair. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so PTSD in the U.S. military. So when a person enlists in the military, they go to basic training. It's anywhere from 8 weeks and longer. I think currently the Marine Corps is at 13 weeks long. This process that a person endures in basic training is designed to shape the way that you react to stress, because war is a stressor. And when you're at war and they've spent all this money to get you there and you're in a tank and you're supposed to shoot at somebody, you can't be scared right now. You can't want to run away right now. You have to be there with your battle buddy right now. So basic training shapes our reaction to stress from retreat to defend and counterattack. You hold your ground, you establish safety, and you attack back. Now, think about people that you know with PTSD who've been in the military, and think about their emotional behaviors sometimes. They withdraw from you and establish a safe zone, their bedroom oftentimes, or in front of the TV or wherever their spot is. And if you come near them again, they're gonna lash out at you. I don't know what your problem is, or just whatever, but the tone is really essential. That's us lashing back at you because we are defending ourselves emotionally. That's that, what's the word I want right now? Inappropriate reaction to a stressor. We're not in physical danger, but we've been trained to react that way because war is that way and you have to know how to function. So they've actually, in the process of basic training, created this PTSD person and made it a very specific reaction that's not well understood right now, because most people who can talk about it can't talk about it. So it's like Fight Club, man. First rule of Fight Club: don't talk about Fight Club. And then all of a sudden we're in Fight Club and everybody's beating each other up and we don't even understand why. So it's really important to have this understanding start to spread among other people. I've got a couple of examples down here at the bottom of PTSD. I hope y'all are reading the slides, because I'm not talking strictly with the slides. I'm kind of like a college professor with that if you don't take notes. But I will put this up. They'll have access to this. If you want to read it later, you can get it. Don't worry. So some examples of PTSD going bad. Police officers is like my favorite one, because, oh my God, I get a ticket every time I get pulled over because a cop comes to my door and they've got their swagger attitude and they got whatever they got to say to me. And now I'm in defend and counterattack and I say something nasty. Because I'm attacking, baby. You just came at me, bro. Like, what did you expect? And that's my PTSD really acting out and kind of screwing me in the long run, right? So that's one of those things, we don't want this to happen, but it's just, It's the reaction we have to the stressor of having someone come at us and exercise control that we need right now. We're in a stressful position, we need to maintain control of our environment, and this person is trying to snatch it from us. So they've just become the enemy. So it isn't always right, but it is worth being understood. So next slide, please. Sorry. And I'm actually working with Willis Sparrow to try to get something like this, some version of this, as part of police training in the future, so that people who are enduring PTSD don't have police officers that are triggering that off at every level, every time they encounter them. Because protect and serve is really supposed to be where they're at. So how does cannabis work? Oh, I love this. It works like this. Makes you happy. All right, so happy, hungry, sleepy, right? So you have to eat to have food in your body and be able to replenish your cells when you're back into that parasympathetic rest and digest system. A lot of people, one of the symptoms that they have with PTSD is an inability to eat. You're tense and you're in a flight state, so your body redirects assets to skeletal muscles, breathing, your eyesight. You no longer have blood going into your intestinal system, so you're not digesting food, so you're not hungry. So marijuana helps with that. It helps with the anxiety that's associated with not being on watch, so that you can relax and sleep finally. That's a big thing for veterans. When you're enduring aggression in an environment for a sustained period of time, sleep doesn't feel safe anymore. So giving sleep back to people is really important. It allows them to have really most of their functions back. If you don't have sleep, you don't even have reality sometimes. You start to hallucinate. So sleep's really important. And then there's also just a whole list of anxiety-related things that can cause problems, because you have elevated cortisol and adrenal function. It causes problems with your heart, it causes a problem with your weight, it causes a problem with your, what's the word? It makes you exhausted because your system's all running on high. Okay, so something else, provides kuleana through cultivation. I think that's super important. It provides a relationship of something that gives back to you for the love that you give to it. So you love your plants, you care for your plants, and as they grow, when they get bigger, they're going to give back to you, you're going to give that medicine to you. It also gives you a daily responsibility that brings people with depression out of their hidey hole. And they are going to love the interaction. So it's a willingness to come out and just interact with anything. And that will grow over time. The people who have this cultivation where it's a mutually beneficial relationship can start to foster and water the relationships in their social life that have the same traits. It also gives us a chance to normalize our stress reaction. Every time I see a cop, and this has resulted in a ticket, but every time I see a cop, I hit a blunt. And now it's like a reaction to that. But it's to calm me down so I don't freak out. And the blunt thing, it really helps a lot. So when the vets freak out a little bit, hand them a blunt. It works great. It allows us to calm down that CNS response, calm down our heart rate, calm down all that stress reaction. Next slide, please. We're almost done, I promise. So the HVCA, what we approach for reducing the suicide rate, I'm like, how do I want to put this? Basically, we use three main areas: cannabis, camaraderie, and community service. We want to encourage people to use cannabis because the physical effects of cannabis allow you to objectify and draw back from your experiences and go over past trauma so that you can experience it without the actual physical trauma. That was something very important for me, was smoking through past experiences and recognizing that I didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Shit happens. So, in addition to that, the camaraderie, which is just basically what we're doing right here. Having a social interaction with other people that use cannabis in a beneficial way shows you, number one, that there's a lot of lies running around in the media. And number two, it shows you that you're normal. You're not a criminal, you're a patient, or you're just someone that understands the value of keeping anxiety levels low in your life. Anxiety will kill you. Google it. Oh, I know. Nothing lies on the internet, you guys, come on. The elevated cortisol and adrenal function will harm your body. So having someone in a group of people that understand that and can foster the knowledge that you want to pursue is super important. I have so much access to people who want to help each other, just learn to grow or find a better strain for them, or really isolate what's the medium going to work best: vaping, smoking, edibles, whatever. So having that is really important. We also provide growing supplies. I'm going to start having more of that available over here. I'm moving over to the Big Island from Oahu currently. I think that's it for this slide. I think I covered everything. And that's it. Questions? I'm done. Okay, awesome. Well, anybody has questions, I'm going to be here all day. I'll be easy to find because I'm covered in pot. And I want to encourage everybody to really try to be as forgiving as possible with the people with PTSD in their lives. We're trying, and if we're not trying, it's better to illuminate where we're trying, where we can do better than it is to like be upset with us. So just try your hardest and reach out for help if that's not enough right now, because there's a lot of people who are dealing with and have dealt with what you're going through, and you are loved, and the people that need you to know that they love you. So thank you very much for your time, you guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. And again, it's Hawaii Vets Cannabis Alliance, and it can be found on the web. Our next speaker, also a constant power behind our information that we try to spread through Lalima Pahoa and through this event.
I hate to disturb your reggae fan.